March 20th, 1980. A solitary earthquake rumbles down the slopes of Mount St. Helens, unnoticed by the residents of Cowlitz and Skamania County. For the next 6 days, earthquakes intensify on Mount St. Helens, and scientists begin to toy with the idea of an awakening volcano. During this week, 84-year-old Harry Truman announces he will not leave his Spirit Lake Lodge and attains national notoriety.
Oh, well, the Forest Service moved out last evening about dark, and they came down and they want to take me out with them. You see, they said their home office down in Portland demanded they all evacuate the country, and they said, you bring Harry with you. And I said, hell, I'm not going to leave there. It's my home. I own that goddamn country, and I wouldn't go, of course. And I stayed there, and I got the shocks. They came in they're on the hour last evening. One come at 5:15, 6:15, approximately 7:15, 8:15, 9:15, and 10:15, and then I waited up for 11 and 12 and 1 to see if it was going to shake me out of bed, but they quit.
Wednesday, March 26th.
This afternoon it seems to have quieted down somewhat. It reached a peak last night, and at the moment we don't know what lies ahead. The activity may build again, or it may continue to quiet down. The station on the summit continues to show that there is activity. It doesn't seem to me that it represents a major public hazard, though, simply because it's a long way from a populated area.
Thursday, March 27th, 1980, 12:45 p.m. Mount St. Helens roars to life after a 123-year sleep. A new crater and huge cracks deface the summit. Volcanic ash and steam pours out of the 250-foot wide crater. Sheriff's officials close portions of Spirit Lake Highway and Lewis River Road, and Harry Truman still refuses to leave. Friday, March 28th to Saturday, March 29th. Eruptions continue to rip the mountain as mud flows aided by melting snow and mounds of ash ooze down the slopes. Steady streams of smoke, ash, and sulfur gases rise 20,000 feet high as earthquakes continue to deface the summit, extending huge cracks around the crater. Mount St. Helens is becoming a national tourist attraction, and Harry Truman continues to ignore official pleas to leave his Spirit Lake resort.
Sunday, March 30th. A second crater appears 30 feet from the original. Tourists flock to see the mountain.
Monday, March 31st to Sunday, April 6th. Eruptions and earthquakes enlarge the craters, merging them together, and the first harmonic tremor is recorded and confirmed by the scientists.
Tuesday, April 8th to Saturday, April 12th, U.S. Forest Service announced the mountain is in a stable mode and prepares to ease road restrictions. Meanwhile, Harry Truman tells reporters he has moved his bed to the basement because earthquakes are getting stronger.
Sunday, April 13th to Wednesday, April 23rd. For 10 complacent days, small steam and ash eruptions continue, and a slight northwest tilt of the mountain is confirmed. Harmonic tremors continue. Local people begin to dismiss the idea of a major eruption, and climbers disregard warnings.
Thursday, April 24th. Scientists shocked the public by announcing a bulge at the head of the Forsyth Glacier. Harry Truman receives fan letters from school children.
Friday, April 25th. Scientist and Sheriff's Office announced that Forsyth Glacier is a time bomb sitting on marbles. Harry Truman stays put, and logging operations continue.
Monday, April 28th to Wednesday, April 30th. Tilting and bulging continue. Harry Truman is allowed to remain at his Spirit Lake Lodge.
Thursday, May 1st to Sunday, May 4th. Earthquake activity increases in size and quantity.
Monday, May 5th to Saturday, May 10th. Bulges growing at 5 feet a day.
Monday, May 11th to Friday, May 16th. Geologist Al Eggers predicts a major eruption on May 21st. Worldwide tourists are discovered camped out beside the first roadblock on Spirit Lake Highway. One visitor urged the mountain to show smoke and fire.
Saturday, May 17th. Evacuated property owners afraid of looters caravan back to their homes to remove belongings. Mountain continues to be active. Caravan members wear T-shirts. I own a piece of the rock.
Sunday, May 18th, 8:32 a.m.
May 18th began as a normal day for KEDO News Director Dennis Harmon. At 8 a.m., he was preparing for the Sunday morning public affairs show. At 8:15 a.m., his guest, stockbroker Mallory Smith, arrived, and the program outline was discussed with producer Chris Kelly. At 8:45 a.m., a puff of smoke is noticed out of the KEDO window, and by 8:50, Dennis Harmon interrupts his program without actually realizing the implication of his announcement.
Their contracts.
Before we get into the rest of the program, Mount St. Helens is apparently undergoing its biggest eruption since the volcano kicked to life some 7 weeks ago. The State Department of Emergency Services reports that a huge cloud of steam and ash is pouring out the top of the mountain, many times greater than it has been seen before. The department also says there has evidently been a large tremor. A flash flood watch has been issued for Skamania and Cowlitz counties. While there are no confirmed reports of any slides on the mountain, a roadblock has been set up in the town of Cougar on the south side of Mount St. Helens. It has also been confirmed that all the property owners who went past the roadblock yesterday to visit their homes and cabins on the north side of the mountain are out of that restricted area as of this moment. Whether or not that includes Harry Truman, I don't know.
By 8:55 a.m., station personnel begin arriving, and by 9:30, almost the entire staff is assembled and ready to assume duties covering the news story of the decade, if not the century. KEDO dispatches Mark Pope and Jonathan Ward to report from the scene. Travel is slow, hampered by sightseeing, tourists, and roadblocks, and by noon, the first reports are filed from Toutle, Washington.
The mountain has erupted. I'm standing here in a phone booth just across from Diedrich's Market in Toutle, and I can see, just looking up into the sky, the billows of smoke and ash just rising and rolling into the afternoon sky. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Overhead are helicopters that are flying in to evacuation missions. On the ground here, people are standing around at this roadblock wondering what to do next. In Toutle, I'm Jonathan Ward reporting for KEDO.
Dennis, we've just located some people who were involved in the rescue of 2 campers who were trapped in the Toutle River when the first mud flow came. They're pretty worn out, to say the least, but I think we can get them over here for... Eyewitness reports are recorded and fired back to the station. Dennis Harmon handles the newsroom anchor position. Chris Kelly handles the control room. General Manager Ozzie Knudsen handles the phones, and KEDO is transformed into the largest news-gathering operation in southwest Washington. Infiltrating the sales department, 2 people are transformed into newsmen, and the rest assist in answering phones, tying up loose ends, and running down leads. Monday, May 19th, the massive job of gathering and disseminating information is underway. Outgoing and incoming calls increase, and the task of informing the community begins.
Helens County Sheriff's Office?
Yeah, this is Mark Pope at KEDO. Is Les Nelson there?
And he happens to be a cameraman for Channel 4 News. And he was on a long-distance telephone call when I got to him, but he has granted us an interview, and I'm not sure exactly when he's going to be calling us. In fact, he may be calling right now. But as soon as...
as soon as you can get him on the phone, let me know about it, and I'll get him piped through from this end.
Okay.
We're running very short.
Wanted to get to that emergency service.
Really encourage again the people to quit using water except for emergency purposes.
You're talking problems that we'll be dealing with 2 or 3 days down the road. This morning we have a major fire about 6 miles to the east of the mountain in the Still Creek drainage, and we're not putting any crews on that right now.
Emergency Services Director, we also address the water contamination potential, and as I said before, the Water Department has called and asked that people conserve all the water possible, as of course because of the...
listen, can you hold for just a second?
Sure.
Not even for that long, okay?
For that concern is a flood watch, which was generated because of a dam, which is formed.
I've got a gentleman on the phone. I've got a gentleman on the phone with me from the Emergency Services Department in Olympia. And what exactly is going on up that way as far as...
up there was knocked out by the flood. They are asking the people in that area to please that everybody does at least have drinking water.
Officials present are concerned about the health hazards from the fallout. Only persons with respiratory ailments.
Dennis, I hate to interrupt, but I have good news.
What's that?
And in the bread of all this bad news, we do have good news. Robert Brown and Mike Butler have been found alive and well.
That is so relieving.
So their relatives can breathe a sigh of relief. Now continue with your tips on drinking.
By Monday afternoon, a strange calm descends on Cowlitz County.
The impact of Sunday's activities still has the population in shock. Greg Allen is sent on a trip around the area, and he files reports on the flood damage at Cowlitz Gardens, Castle Rock, Lexington. He reports fish dying in the middle of the Castle Rock Fairgrounds, some 105 feet away from the normal riverbed. He reports of devastation, the likes of which Castle Rock has never seen. As Greg is leaving, Jonathan Ward returns from his second flight surveying the area. He reports the devastation as he sees it in flight.
Now I can see the western side of the mountain, right directly from its base. Completely covered with mud flows, a blue-green glacier, covered with volcanic rock. You can see now more fires along what looks like now is a canyon edge that has been ripped out by the mud flow. There's small fires, spot fires all over the place up here. We're now flying directly down the south fork of the Toutle River from the mountain. All the trees on the banks are gone. There's just one big mass of mud with streams of water going through it. Mud, debris, and huge logs. It used to be a narrow stream with trees on both sides of it. Now it's just a big wide open path of mud. You can see down here on the mud, and we're now going around. We can see footprints down there. We don't know if anyone is there, but there seem to be a mass of footprints of people there. Where they are, we don't know. We're now looking for them. Must have been made by 2, 3, or 4 people. Just right across the bed of the mud here. Now we're going up. We're going to be following them some more. Where these people are and who they are is up for grabs. We've slowed our speed down to search for them. They look like they're fairly fresh footprints, possibly from today.
Monday wears on. The radio station settles into continuous mountain and flooding coverage. Reports by station personnel are coming in from 5 locations. Seattle and Portland TV and radio stations have the story and have Longview Kelso fleeing for their lives. The rumors begin to fly. Portland and Seattle are reporting anything they hear. More panic on the phones. Midnight arrives and residents begin to hear cars and trucks equipped with loudspeakers advising them to evacuate now. It's a hoax. By 8:30 a.m., business people receive calls advising them to close their shops and stores due to pending evacuations. Another hoax. Nolan Lewis, Director of Local Emergency Services, goes on record.
This office has put out no instructions to anybody to close their business. Actually, we put out no instructions to anybody in the Longview area to evacuate. Last night, we told people along the river that they were probably smart not to sleep in the houses if they were in an area where flooding was probable in not too high a river situation, but we have not asked any businesses to close. My reaction to that would be either a prank or it be one way that somebody who wanted to get into a business unannounced could arrange that. I don't know.
Good information and misinformation comes bundled together, and the process of sifting and sorting continues. Tuesday, May 20th, 9:15 a.m. We set up a studio in the Cowlitz County Hall of Justice to report official information. We man it 24 hours a day, exhausting manpower, but calming citizens, trying to soften the terror of a potential 300 million cubic feet of water, mud, ash, and debris, held back by a very unstable nature-made dam. Tuesday, May 20th, 10 a.m. 2 reporters from Network Radio arrive. The first of many. Longview Kelso is on the map.
Rumors continue to cause problems. False evacuations, food and gas shortage rumors. We try to combat these with sensible reports. We go to the experts, and the information swirls around our heads.
Okay, Greg, all of our trucks and deliveries to our Kelso and Longview stores are running as scheduled. We have no problems at all, and all operations are normal. We have lots of food and no problems.
Oh, yes, in terms of having to evacuate down in that area around the mountain, You won't have any problems buying gas up and down I-5 or going back into Yakima or over the river into Portland.
Flash flood watch issued by the National Weather Service remains in effect.
If we were to notify any of the citizens, we'd use high-low sirens as well as the loudspeakers, and we would slowly go through the neighborhood trying to ensure every person was notified.
We have completed the removal of, or delivered, 3 victims.
A one-stop center for financial aid for Helens County disaster victims.
The seismic activity for the last 24 hours has been fairly quiet. We did record some of the avalanches that occurred, and they were of between magnitude 3 and 3.4.
Breaking down and sliding into the crater, which is an expected activity according to the geologist.
Found a couple that had been killed by the blast. They had been pinned by a tree. Also under that tree was a dog. The dog was alive and sometime after the eruption had given birth to 3 pups. I'm Jonathan Ward reporting from the Toledo Airport.
By noon, the Cowlitz County Hall of Justice is flooded with national reporters, all looking for an exclusive. They nest in the sheriff's office and are considered a hindrance by officials. Information slows to a snail's pace. But the rumors persist. Dennis Harmon is on the air every hour reporting outside stories. Mark Pope, Chris Kelly, and others man the information center, sidestepping national reporters to gather information for our citizens. TV crews pile into the sheriff's office trying to take shots for reference. Afternoon is coming, and so is Governor Dixie Lee Ray, and KEDO is there.
I feel as if I've just come back from the moon. We took off and went up the south fork of the Toutle and moved as close to the mountain as we could, which was pretty close to its base. Saw the areas where both the slide devastation and the blast itself has leveled trees. Then we went over the hump, started down on the north side. We were able to get close enough to see just the edge of one part of what was Spirit Lake. It is now what we could see simply a mass of floating debris and logs, and there's some overflow from that area coming down the valley there. We could see very little of it because of the amount of ash and cloud in the area. The mountain was very quiet and very cooperative while we were there. So it was possible to fly quite close to the mountain itself. As we moved, turned to go from the Spirit Lake area down the North Fork, it was truly an area of, such as all of us have seen, of pictures of the moonscapes or imaginary scenes of other planets. The same kind of eerie, undulating landscape with evidence
How critical is it there as far as the flood situation is concerned at the dam?
I cannot answer. All I can say is that should that dam give way, there is an enormous amount of material, and I understand quite a high level of water and mud behind it, so that my guess is, and this is only a guess at the present time, and I would like to talk with the geologist before, making any certain statement, but should that blockage give way, what we have seen so far in damage for a mudslide down that would be small compared to what I think might happen should that material come down. So that I believe that we should have contingency plans. We will be working on them for that possible eventuality. Everyone living along the banks of the Toutle, the Cowlitz, and on down, including Kelso and Castle Rock, Kelso, and Longview, in the lower areas, there would probably be flooding should that happen, and that there are contingency plans in the event that should occur. People should have ways of getting out and be prepared.
Wednesday dawns to a repeat of the past 2 days. Water restrictions still in force. Rumors continue. The small community of Lexington is evacuated for a second time. Broadcasters begin calling us from around the country and the world. Our reporters are now filing reports for ABC, the BBC. We report to Australia and Wales, San Francisco, Chicago, Miami, Augusta. All of a sudden, the nation looks at us as the experts. Then the word gets out. President Carter is on his way. We dispatch Jonathan Ward for KEDO. We're now simulcasting simulcasting on our FM KLYK. Mark Pope leaves with a film crew for local Channel 3. We're now providing coverage for local TV. When President Carter steps off the plane, he walks into the arms of Jonathan Ward. We're all operating on less than 10 hours sleep since the eruption, and we look it.
Mr. President, could you make a statement for us here? And we're from Cowlitz County Radio, and we wanted to know exactly what things you went over in the public meeting.
So far, sir? Well, I've had a very good briefing from the state and the federal and the local agencies here, both including the clearing up of the debris that's in the Columbia River, plans for the correction of problems relating to human beings, the clearing away of debris, making people have a good place to live again, trying to provide some arrangements for funding of a tremendous cost. We're going into the problem of the prevention of future flooding, monitoring the activity of the volcano very closely, making plans already with the Forestry Service within the U.S. Department of Agriculture for the harvesting of the downed timber in the next months ahead. We primarily want to learn at first hand, before I go back to Washington, what else needs to be done, to list an order of priority of activity, to decide who will be responsible for certain activities, and how we can have a close coordination between state and local and federal agencies. We also want to be sure that the governors and mayors know that they can contact me directly anytime they choose. This is a tremendous tribute, not only to the careful monitoring and planning that went ahead of time and the coordination of a lot of different responsible people, but the absence of fear and panic and the courageous response to one of the most devastating natural explosions and phenomena that our country has ever seen on the part of the people who live here.
Wednesday evening is spent rehashing the day's events, announcing evacuation changes, trying to keep the citizens calm, correcting mistakes we and other broadcasters have made. The long hours are taking their toll. Wednesday, midnight. Some of our people not off for a couple hours of sleep.
Thursday morning, we're back at it, preparing for the big event of the week, the arrival of President Carter. We dispatched Dennis Harmon and Jonathan Ward to the Cascade Middle School to cover the president. The president changes his plans. He's landing at the Kelso Airport. We can't get word to Dennis and Jonathan. Greg Allen tries his hand and cuts across the airfield and is nearly arrested by the Secret Service. By the time this is sorted out, the president has dismissed the press. Greg misses the conference altogether, but somehow Jonathan made it.
We had obviously a very fortunate preparation period when people were evacuated and kept out of there. Right. But the devastation is much greater than I had ever dreamed it was.
Has our view of the situation up there changed any of your plans now for federal aid coming in? Do you think we're going to need more than was originally anticipated, any new equipment or more federal troops or anything like this?
Well, I think the control of people is extremely important, and I know that the local sheriffs and the State Patrol and National Guard governors have done a very good job with that. Otherwise, we'd have had a massive loss of life. The geodetic survey, the geologists, the volcanologists have done a superb job in preparing the public for what might happen. The precautions maybe were not adequate for the size of the explosion. Nobody dreamed it would be that severe. Well, it's hard to describe because I've never seen or heard of anything like this before. Somebody said it looked like a moonscape, but the moon looks like a golf course compared to what's up there.
Dennis Harmon, on his way back to the Cascade Middle School, is involved in an accident and totals Jonathan's car. He's all right and back to work before the sheriff can write up the accident report.
Friday and Saturday settles down to a pace easier to handle. Water is still restricted, but mop-up stages begin. It appears we've come through the worst. Our reporters begin to get rest. National reporters return home. The story is over for them. Our station spends the weekend announcing closures and reopenings. We're announcing how to apply for funding and insurance claims. By Saturday night, it's radio business as usual. Little did we know. Sunday morning between 2 and 3 a.m., the mighty saint rears her head once more. A plume of steam, gas, and ash soars into the morning sky. Wind conditions that had sent the ash eastward now move it silently southwest. And Longview Kelso has its first encounter with the gray-white slop. It's raining, and it slithers silently to the ground. The sun rises, but doesn't even filter through the cloud. Staff members begin reassembling. We're back at it again. Lightning streaks the sky. The lights flicker and pop off. The clock stops at 8:29:30, 2.5 minutes before Mount St. Helens' one-week anniversary. The Cowlitz Hall of Justice is thrust into darkness. All radio stations grind to a halt. Phones are full without ringing. Personnel answer panic callers. Our reporter at the Hall of Justice finds a flashlight and compiles information in the event we regain power. We discover power is on at our transmitter. We race to a local church and borrow an amplifier. We race to the transmitter and haywire together a mic direct to the transmitter and leave Greg and Jonathan with nothing but their ability to ad-lib, talking as the ash continues to fall. Mark Pope scrounges two 12-volt batteries and somehow hooks up the studio. More voices, ad-libbing.
And I do have some official information that I can pass along to you at this time, which I will do as soon as I have the opportunity of digging out the notes that I hastily put together. And one item that I should stress is Longview and Kelso have replaced their restrictions on water. Apparently we have Dennis Harmon. If Dennis Harmon can hear us, we're ready for his reports. And Dennis, you're on the air.
I'm on the air. If I'm being able to be monitored at this point, we have jury-rigged something here at the radio station. We have got some kind of power from what I understand. This late word from Longview Fiber Company. Their production operations are closed. Power and steam operations will continue starting with B shift, and that's at 3 o'clock this afternoon. All shift mechanics should report. I'll repeat that one more time. Longview Fiber Company production operations are closed. Power and steam operations will continue starting with B shift. That's B shift at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Thought I might suggest to our station manager, Ozzie Knudsen, who's been in the broadcasting industry for a number of years, if he's available down there, maybe he can get on the air with us and talk to us about whether or not he's had any other similar experiences. I know he's done a lot of exceptional work in the TV area and, of course, in radio with all his vast experience, much more than ours, but it seems like we spent a week here already. And we suggest to you to stay off the roads and stay inside if you would. If you have respiratory problems, this ash could irritate you. So I would suggest you keep your windows and your doors closed, and don't wash off your cars or anything, and because we've got to conserve water. Water is going to become a problem.
Look at the light. It's very strange.
The light is very strange.
Well, we have a street light on.
We have a street light on.
11 o'clock in the morning.
At 11 o'clock in the morning, right. The volcano has turned day into night here.
Power is restored at 2:30 p.m. Things are back to normal. Or are they? The residents of Cowlitz County and the staff of KEDO, KLYK, may never realize what they've been through, or the place they now hold in history. We learned the hard way, made mistakes, but somehow held ourselves together. The big story may be gone for the nation, but for those who live in the shadow of the great saint, the story will never end.